Hello! Welcome to It's Fate, a fantasy novel recap podcast where two friends dive in to discuss your favorite fantasy reads. I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan, and today we are covering the first half of The Dragon Republic by RK Kuang.
Yes, so chapter 20.
Yes, 1 through 20.
And this is the second book of the series.
It is.
Yeah, which I saw someone, I was looking on Reddit or something, but someone was like, I picked up this book because I thought it was like, just sounded good from like the back. Yeah. And then they were like, I realized it was a second book. Like, and I was like, you're right. It doesn't have like anything on the front that would indicate that it's
right. Because normally books will say, you know, like Iron Flame. It says at the top, like Empyrean Series number 2.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? I feel like you actually could pick this up and start reading it. It's just the background with their school and Alton you wouldn't understand.
Yeah. Alton I feel like would be much more like mysterious.
Yeah, you'd be like, what happened here? Yeah. Like, I feel like I would assume that he was worse than he was based off of.
Well, everyone else you realize doesn't really like him. It's only
Rin. And Chagan.
Those two.
Oh my gosh, obsessed. Before we jump in, how you doing?
I'm good. It's a 3-day weekend, so I feel good.
Love that.
Yeah, I did a lot of reading. We went out.
So fun.
Listened to lots of live music. Oh, and I was going to tell you, I was telling Morgan that we went to this place with
that
live
I need
music.
to try.
I need to try. It has like a whole backyard thing, and there's like yard games and stuff, but there was live music. Fun. And this man, he was very talented. He was any genre he could just play.
I love that.
And he said my name in one of them. Because you could request, and I requested No Scrubs by TLC.
Love that.
And so he added my name in there.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it was really
fun. Gosh. Your hair looks so cute, by the way. I like how you have your little bangs hanging out of the pigtails.
Thanks. Dana, I asked how she did her bangs. So
I need a full Dana hair tutorial.
And like makeup. And
oh my gosh.
Clothing.
Yeah. Yeah, actually. She's the queen. We joked that she should be a pop star, and Katie and I will just be her background women. Not on stage, but like we'll just do all the behind the scenes work so that we can be rich and not have to be famous.
You could do like background vocals.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, you could do a vocal with her.
I feel like I could also be a pop star.
I think so too.
But
this wasn't
do I want to be?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
I'd rather be on Broadway.
I could definitely see that.
If I had to be on a stage in some capacity, that's probably what I would want to do.
I don't like singing in front of like people that much. I mean, I do if it's like karaoke.
It's you, me, and Dana doing our karaoke on YouTube.
I mean, I just don't think I sing that well to be able to be a pop star, but I could act, maybe. No, I can't act. I should clarify.
Okay, but if you were like, you have to be famous. You have to be on stage for something. Yeah. What would you want to do? Acting, comedy, singing, Broadway, just dancing, a musician?
I would either want to be an actress or if I could play like the bass.
That would be cool. Yeah. Ooh, a girl on the bass. But like in this world, you could.
I could. Yeah. I played guitar for 5 years. Did you know this about me?
No.
Well, I don't anymore.
So. Oh my gosh. I played guitar for a very long time as well.
I can barely. I know G and C.
I don't even know where my guitar is. I also played ukulele for a long time.
I could see that.
I was that girl.
I could definitely see that.
You know?
Yeah.
Playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow with the ukulele and trying to sound like I'm not white when I sing.
Oh, the cursive singing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just
it's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's a time. It's a time to be alive.
It was, and I was like 16, so, you know.
Well, how was your weekend, your day?
Well, I told you, I was like, it's been an interesting morning. It's a 3-day weekend, like Katie said, so my husband has the day off, so we like to do something family time. So we were going to go to the zoo this morning, which our zoo is so fun, and I go like every week.
Yeah, I would go too.
We were meeting friends, another family there as well. But when it was time to get in the car, instead we had a 45-minute tantrum. So we were then 45 minutes late to the zoo. Oh. And then, which is fine, but it was just we were meeting. If it was just us. Yeah. Yeah. And then we were going to get breakfast burritos at the zoo. They were sold out by the time we got there. And then I dropped my phone walking in. And then my son was running and having fun. And he fell and split his lip open and like saw blood for the first time. And he was like, I don't like the pink. I don't like the pink. And I was like, I know, honey, it's called blood. And he's like, I don't want my blood. And then later he goes, where'd my blood go? And he keeps touching his lip. So it like busted. He doesn't need stitches or anything. But so we left in tears because he was just like, I want to go home. And then as we were loading up in the car, I dropped my perfect dent-free Stanley, and now it's not perfect and dent-free. So, like, nothing major, but just a lot of really annoying things that made my morning that was supposed to be, like, really nice and enjoyable, just not. So
I'm sorry. That's
all right.
That was a lot, one after the
other. It was just one after another. But we did get to see the new baby elephants because 2 were born and it was their first morning out.
A few years ago, we went to, they have like a adult night at the zoo. Yeah. We should go. Not that I don't want to go with Malachi.
He's fun, but it's a different vibe. Yeah. It's a different energy.
I do want to go with Malachi. I've told you this before.
I know. We need to go. Yeah.
But I also think you were just saying how you want to get out more.
I do.
So you can go out more.
Yeah.
I'll drag you to the zoo.
Perfect.
Back to the zoo.
Back to the zoo.
I promise.
I'll go Friday morning with my son and Friday night with you.
I promise not to have a 45-minute tantrum.
Thank you so much. It was at the point where, and parents, if you're out there, sometimes you just have to sit and just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait for it to be done. So, but here we are, and he's asleep, Lord willing.
Hopefully.
It's not my problem right now. It's my husband's. So
we're wearing blue.
We are for the Republic.
The Dragon Republic.
Yes, this is their color. Mm-hmm. Apparently it's also the Federation's color.
Yeah. To be honest, sometimes with details like that, I'm like, I don't care.
Well, I don't care what color this is. And then I saw more blue uniforms, but they weren't ocean blue. They were something else. And I'm like, all right, they couldn't have been red. Like, could we just make it different?
What's the Empires?
I think they're green.
The Empires are green now.
I think so.
Okay.
And then the Sika was black. I think. Sika's definitely black, but I don't remember about the Empire for sure.
Too much.
We could also say blue for Neja's eyes when he summons his dragon god thing. Yeah. Some wild stuff happened in this book. We're drinking out of cute blue mugs.
I'm just drinking water because I just had coffee.
I am drinking an Americano that Katie made me. So thank you.
Cheers.
I haven't taken a sip yet.
My water is delicious.
So good. I'm so glad. Have you ever had water before?
Every day.
My Americano is also delicious. And this is my daily. This is when I make it home every day.
You have an espresso, right?
Yeah, but I stopped buying pods.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to save money in little places. But I have an AeroPress. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
And so it will make, like, I make a double shot using it every morning and then just add my water. And it's so good and much cheaper because I just get a big bag of Pete's coffee for like $14 at Costco. And it lasts us a month, which is so good.
That's way better. Yeah, we use our drip.
Yeah. We were paying like $70 a month for Nespresso pods.
And I'm like, do I like coffee that much to spend that much money?
I do. I really do. But I also love it in a different format. So, yeah.
Special
occasions.
Well, big spoiler warning if you didn't know.
We're going to talk about a lot of details in this book. So if you don't want to be spoiled.
Or you don't want to read it.
Honestly, once you hear my rating, I would say don't read it and just listen to us.
Okay, well.
Katie liked it.
I liked it, but tell us what your rating was.
I gave it 3 stars. And the last 50 pages, like finishing the book, I was like, wow, this was so good. Loved it. And then I was like, I actually didn't love it until 50 pages till the end. And so I feel like I do that a lot with books where I will rate it off of the high I feel when I finish it if the ending was really good.
Me too.
Yeah, so I had to sit back and like reflect on it. And this is what I wrote. I said it took me 100 years to get through the first 400 pages. And then I was interested. But it still took another 100 pages for me to finally be on the edge of my seat. The last quarter of the book was riveting, heartbreaking, and tragically wonderful. The first 3 quarters were incredibly slow and left me with much to be desired. That's on Goodreads, so it's in stone now.
It's in stone. I mean, you can change it.
I know. I know.
If you start thinking about it, well, I liked it. I gave it a 4.5.
Wow.
But I kind of expected to be bored. Not bored. It's just...
I was bored.
Slow. It honestly reminds me, I think this would be a great series to make something like a Game of Thrones series.
Yes.
Something that's like really long.
Absolutely.
And in-depth. And you really know the characters. This isn't going to be the most like page turner type book.
It's not a page turner. And I felt like 400 pages in, I was like, we did one thing. Like, it took 400 pages to describe going up the river and then ending in that big battle.
This is war.
And I'm like, I just don't. It is. And I think it was like, I get this is realistic. There were certain scenes where I was like, that's really cool. There were certain moments where you're like, that's necessary for that character's development. But I'm like, I don't want to read every detail about war.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah. So... but I can tell it's well written.
Yeah, it's very well written. More well written than I would say a lot of romanticises. But I don't care because sometimes I'm reading romanticises, I'm like, this is just for entertainment.
Yeah, and I really want. I just love romance.
Well, I did pick out some cute Neja moments for you. I thought you would appreciate.
Thank you. There were so many times where I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. And then I was Rin on the boat going, this is it. That we'll cover in our next episode.
I really liked the just whole like political and religious commentary that the whole series, but especially this book, it goes into like religious.
Yeah. The world building is really she takes a lot of time explaining it. What am I trying to say here? Yeah. You know what I mean.
I loved Rin and Katai's relationship in this one and how they grow together, and you see how similar they are. They're really the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just didn't like how slow it was. But yeah, I kind of expected it since the first book was slow.
The first book was slow, and I thought that was because of the world building. So I rated the last book a 4.5, and I think it's because I was like, oh, this is the first one, and I expected it, so I really rated it on the second half. But this time I was like, okay. But I'm hopeful for the third one.
It's the last one, so it should be a little bit more ready.
I know. But I told you I'm switching. I'm going to get the audiobook and the physical book so that when it's really slow, I can listen and do chores at 2 times speed and do my dishes and fold my laundry. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, let's jump into it.
Let's do it. All right.
We start with the prologue. Did you read the prologue?
I did read the prologue. I forgot to take any notes on it, but I remember it in vivid detail.
Okay. It's about Neja and his 6-year-old brother gets eaten by a dragon. It's a water dragon.
Did you think it was a dragon when you read the prologue?
I thought it was a man. Or like some mystical man, like some...
I thought as the book went on and we realized that Neja had connections to water, I thought that maybe Neja accidentally killed his own brother with the water.
That would be terrifying.
I know. That's what I assumed happened until he explained it. And I was like, what?
I thought it was like a water god.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of thought like this was Neja's first experience with that water power. And he didn't even realize what was happening. That's what I thought. Not right away. Yeah. But once we found out more in the book.
How horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, what did happen to him was horrible too.
Oh my gosh. Awful.
Yeah.
Creepy.
It was very creepy. It made me really sad. I just wanted to hug Neja. To see that, the description, trigger warning, it's kind of, I'm going to describe something really gross.
Chunks.
The chunks of flesh.
And bloody streams in the water.
Was really, really sickening.
Yeah. And him being 6 years old.
He was so little. And it was his first time, like, taking care of his brother.
Why does this keep happening in books? What else did I read recently or watch? Actually, I think it was a Bridgerton book where I read another thing or watched something. It's all blurring together. Where it was like, took his sibling out to the lake and then he closed his eyes for a minute and then next thing he knew, his sibling had drowned. And I feel like that's happened in multiple books that I've read recently.
How sad.
I know.
Not a good theme.
And I'm like, I'm not into this. Stop. I don't like it.
Yeah. Very sad. But I love that little snippet we get because I was thinking about it as we were, when he wasn't there yet in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, chapter 1.
Yes.
Basically, what is happening? Oh, they're working for the
Moog?
I say Moog.
Moog, okay. She's like a
pirate queen.
Yeah.
I kind of love
her. / drug lord.
I kind of like her.
Did we get a physical description of her?
It was really dark in her little hole.
Can I tell you how I pictured her? As a female Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars, who's not human. But that is where my mind went.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I could kind of see that. Like, I can see where your brain would go there because she has, you like never see her. She's like hidden away. And like, I don't know. I could see. Isn't he like a drug lord?
I think so. And he like has a bunch of women. I don't know. And I don't think her women are like,
they're like
sex
assassins.
slaves, but his were.
These seem sexually liberated.
I know. They're having a great time. But that's how I pictured her in my brain.
Interesting.
But she's probably not like that at all.
No. But that's kind of a funny way.
Yeah.
A fun way to.
Yeah. And Rin is super addicted to opium.
She's really addicted to opium. Mm-hmm. She has a lot of guilt still in regards to Alton and what she did to the Federation.
Yeah.
The island. I noticed, so she's working to assassinate whoever Moog wants her to because she needs a fleet to assassinate the Empress. Yeah. That's like her end goal. And I was thinking about, how do you say his name? Aratasha.
Aratasha. Yep, I always just said Aratsha.
I said Aratsha too.
I just got rid of some letters.
Same.
I'm so sorry, Aratasha.
But he spends most of his time, he's their water shaman. He spends most of his time in his barrel when he isn't help guiding their ship. And I was like, this seems so boring. But I'm wondering if, like, is he more water now than he is man?
I think so. Well,
we get the description
of his body, and he's like a part of the ocean. It's like he's a coral.
It reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, how they
start sinking into the ship.
All the dead pirates. Yeah, that's a good connection. At the beginning of the book, Rin is talking about how much Chagon has always like tried to take leadership from her. And this struck me as kind of odd because at the end of the first book, it literally ended with them like shaking hands and being like, we're on a team to get the Empress. And he seemed to be like cool that she was in charge. But it doesn't start off good. And he's like barely in the book.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah. And then like even when I kept forgetting him and Kara were there.
Me too.
I'd be like, why aren't they on this mission? And then all of a sudden it would be like, and then they stepped out of, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that seem like kind of inconsistent to you with him?
The ending, honestly.
Or even just the beginning of how he was like, he seemed so against Rin.
I feel like he's just like a bitter guy.
Yeah, I don't like him.
Yeah.
But maybe he'll have a redemption.
He kind of did, but he didn't redeem himself in your...
He just was annoying.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, maybe he'll just get better. It's not like he did anything super wrong. He just annoyed me.
Well, in the same way how, like, Rin was so annoying with how... They're both so obsessed with Alton, where you're just like...
Oh my gosh, let it go.
Let
it go.
Everyone else doesn't like him that much.
I know.
Yeah.
She's so addicted to opium. Okay, so in chapter 3, the 2 members of the Sika leave, Enki and Unijin.
Yes.
And they don't come back in this book. Do you think they're gone for good, or do you think they'll come back?
I think they'll come back.
I hope so, because
where do shamans go?
Well, they're together because their whole thing was like a shaman can never be alone. But now Rin's alone.
Was one of them the doctor? Enki was the doctor.
And Unijin was the fox.
The fox. I'm really glad you remembered that, because I couldn't remember.
Looked at it recently.
Okay.
Of like what they all were.
Okay. Yeah, I do think they're going to come back. Probably in the last book in some kind. Yeah. Especially since they're going down south. It would make sense.
If they're still there.
I found it really interesting how they were like, Rin was in this struggling of, she was opium, and then she was like also like cutting herself and like to help focus her. And do you feel like the Sika could have done more to support Rin at this time? Because they say they've all been where she's been right now, but then I feel like they just kind of like leave her. Yes.
And so jumping ahead a little bit, just a couple chapters, when Rin meets Vasra, Neja's father.
I think it's Vasra.
Vasra, okay. She meets Vasra, and Vasra is just like, you're cut off. Like, you have to figure this out. He's not a great guy, but I felt like this was, she needed somebody to do this. And I'm like, why didn't the Sika do this? Why didn't they just say enough? Like, enough opium. I don't know.
I don't know either. Or like, what do they do to help control their god? Like,
I don't think it's the same. I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to have something numbing their god the whole time.
Well, they do talk about how they are like sharing their brain, like they're sharing their mind with their god too.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do think they use different tactics, right? Like the Phoenix seems like he uses anger and rage and is consistently bombarding Rin with these horrible images. Yeah. But I just felt, I was like, they're like, yeah, we're here for you. And then they're just like, not. But
no wonder she was making terrible decisions. Yeah. No wonder Alton was making terrible decisions. Like, they were not in their right state of mind.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that didn't last long for her. Because I was like, if you're just going to be addicted to drugs this whole time, are we going to get anywhere?
We barely did.
We barely did. Oh, my goodness.
Chapter 4, we both have some stuff.
Yeah.
So we finally meet the Pirate Queen Moog. Jabba the Hutt. And her assassins. And they start to bargain. Rin bargains with her to just have one more kill. And then Moog will deliver her fleet.
Right, because she was supposed to give them a fleet to defeat the Empress.
And Katai burns Rin and is angry that she destroyed Mugen, the island.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Rin met Serena, the like assassin for Moog,
the Lily,
she was like threatening to burn her alive and like choking her.
Yeah.
And honestly, I loved Rin in that moment.
Oh, me too. Especially after the first 3 chapters of being like, Rin, you're a lump on a log here. I was like, yes, this is a commander. Like, you are getting it done.
Yes. And Serena was just so smug in that moment where I was like, shut up.
Yeah. Just listen to her. Yeah. I know. I wish we would have gotten a little more backstory, because we have no idea how Katai suddenly was like captured by Moog.
I think they went to Moog, and then Moog was like, yeah, but like Katai's kind of like our collateral.
That is so sad if Rin was like, sure.
Oh, well, I think he was like, they were like, can you keep him safe?
Oh,
right?
Okay. He was that
not
makes
their
sense.
Collateral, but they were keeping him safe. But
yes, I guess kind of collateral, but but still, he was just like rotting away,
doing their
in
taxes
in the darkness, and it looked like he hadn't been eating,
and he was just.
Doing taxes.
He's doing accounting.
And it comes up again later in the book. At one point, he's like, bad things can really happen if somebody doesn't do their accounting right. And everyone's like, okay, Katai, whatever.
I thought at this point that Rin was just going to burn herself every time she felt the Phoenix like taking over.
Or cut herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stabbing.
I know. Okay.
Chagan.
Yes.
Really seems to blame.
Yes.
Rin for Alton's death. Do you agree?
No, I hate Chagan. I do. I'm like, dude, you're being a jerk, and I know you're in mourning, but get over it. That's not fair at all. But I'm just like, you're being so mean.
To a child.
And I think he's a lot older.
He's 20, and he's in his early 20s. I wrote it down because we find out he's like 21, 22.
She's 20.
Rin?
Yes. I think by the end of this book, she's 21. I was trying to keep track.
Oh, I'm glad you did, because I had no idea. I was like, Rin's 16?
But they've been around since like the beginning of this Sika? I don't know. I'm confused. I started to think Chagan is like immortal.
I was thinking that too, and then
like he can die but not age.
Yeah. I feel bad for him. I also think it's like it was just frustrating because he blames Rin for Alton's death, but like Alton killed himself. Like he put Rin on this mission.
Yes. So and Alton was going to do whatever it took to destroy some part of the Federation, even if it killed him. Even if it had nothing to do with Rin. Yeah. That's what he would have done.
It was just frustrating to have all of that blamed on Rin, where I'm like, she's just a pawn in this game of craziness.
I agree. Okay, let's talk about Neja and his father. Why do I love him so much?
He reminds me of from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
What's his name?
Zuko.
I love Zuko too. Where you're just like...
You're rooting for them. Because you see this goodness in Neja. But then you learn... You meet his brother. His brother's worse.
Oh my gosh.
His brother is awful.
Jinza.
And you meet his dad. And his dad just like plays everyone like a freaking fiddle. He just uses everyone.
Like Tamlin's fiddle.
There's Visra. Playing everyone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. And he just wants his dad's attention. I know. And love.
Just like Zuko.
Yeah.
He just wants his dad's love and attention. Oh my gosh, Katie, such a good parallel. Yeah, no, I love him.
I love him too.
And I'm pissed at him right now.
I'm so mad at him.
But yeah.
He's gonna die.
Maybe he'll die in like a really redemptive way.
And then you'll cry.
Yeah. Yeah. I did cry in this book.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about it.
Save it for the next episode. Okay. When Neja, Katai, and Rin are all back together, I was so happy. Because I feel like Neja, at least at this point, because Rin and Katai are still like feuding and they're barely friends at this point. He was like the middle ground, whereas Rin was all emotion. And Neja or Katai was all logic. And so they were going at each other. And Neja just came in and was like this mediator and this perfect balance between the logic and the emotion. And I feel like at this point in the book, I was like, oh, he's made the most growth. Like he's grown. He's actually grown up.
Yeah. And you see how for most of the book, he did have some times where he was like awful to Rin and said awful things to her, but for the most part he didn't use horrible racist language to her or would say these like crazy things. Even
when they would have moments of arguments and he would say things that were harsh, it was different than it was before. It was like either he was hurt and so he was trying to hurt her back, or he was just, I don't know, I just felt like the motivation was different, whereas before he was just like a plain jerk.
Yeah.
Like no explanation, just being a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
I'm proud of him.
Something I did like about Vesra is he finally reasoned with Rin to see that she can't just like kill the Empress and expect all the problems to go away. Like what she did with the Federation, right? She like burned their island thinking, oh, everything, like they're gone. I'm not going to ever have to worry about them. But she's just so young.
I know. And there was a lot, even though, how do you say we pronounce his name? Visra?
I think it's Vesra.
Vesra. Okay, thank you. We're going to go with that. Vesra. He ends up being not so great.
No.
But
which I should have seen coming.
I know. We really should have. I started not to trust him by the end, but I didn't expect it to be as intense as it was. But yeah, there were moments where I was like, thank you. Someone's finally getting to her and like kind of mentoring her and guiding her to be a true soldier and warrior.
And making her critically think about her actions and consequences to those actions.
Yeah. Kind of random, but a little thing that I realized. Well, there's a lot of pages are used to describe boats. A lot of pages. So if you are a nautical fan, there's a lot of boat pages in this book.
There are, now that you say that.
A lot. And eventually they were all blurring together. All the boats were the same. But they talked about how the boats are paddled, and that's what makes them so much faster. Like paddled with feet paddles. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, people have to do that. Like people, can you imagine that being your job? You know those exercise bikes that you like lean back on? Like that's just what you do for a living.
Thighs are
thunderous.
Unless they're like starving it, which it seemed like they weren't being
At one point, they were like people, because they were using prisoners to do it, and they started dying. I'm like, that would be, I would rather shovel poop, I think, than do that for a living.
I'm trying to think, I would probably rather shovel poop as well.
Yeah.
Because, well, first of all, you're not getting much out of me.
I know, I'm like, going that fast. I don't know how much I can contribute here. And it just sounds so boring.
Yeah.
So boring.
Yeah. And like your thighs are just on fire.
Yeah, and it's just the same every day.
On the bottom of the boat.
Uh-huh.
Dark.
And you're at war at this point. So I don't want to be at war.
No. Mm-mm. No. Do you want to go chapter 7?
Yes, let's do it.
So Rin is forbidden from using the opium.
Yes.
She sees a flooded town, which was from Kara and Chagon.
Yeah, which was
flooding or breaking the dam.
A part of her and Alton's choices too.
Yes, and Alton. We find out that Alton knew Vaestra, and Vaestra helped to train him, which was a turn of events I did not.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I feel like we should have suspected something at that point.
Yeah,
because didn't Alton? He was like raised in Seingard. Mm-hmm. I think we said Singard last week, but then we realized there's an E in there. Seingard. Yeah.
But we get a little flirty moment.
I know.
So Rin gets the urge to touch Neja's face. And then Neja tells her that he likes her new haircut.
There were so many moments where I was like, oh, come on. Just
please.
Kiss. Or just like embrace. They have a couple hugs later. And they hold hands a few times.
Yeah.
But
it's a slow burn.
Too slow for me. I was just happy that I liked that the story was coming together at this point. I was still interested at this point in time. I was like, get Neja's back. There's this new purpose. Joining the Republic.
Rin's not on opium anymore.
Thank you. So glad about that. Okay. Their plan. So chapter 8, they come up with this plan to kill the Viperess. It felt a lot like the Inner Circle being like, we're just going to go steal the cauldron real quick. Like, very
Don't
much the same.
Us. We're just going to go kill the Empress.
We're just going to go into the most dangerous place ever where the most powerful person lives and just do this quick little thing and nobody's going to notice and the war's going to end.
Rin was for sure over confident and under, like, prepared for the Empress. I don't think she really understood the Empress's power.
Yeah.
Like, I know she just took down a whole island, but not the same.
No, and I don't even think Rin knew what like you said, I don't even think she knew what the Empress could do. But they were like, just don't look her in the eyes.
It didn't work. She literally, like, opened, like, I couldn't even go, look at me. Eyes. Yeah, she said all of a sudden her eyes were open.
Makes me think of the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland where they're like, don't look into the eyes. But you want to look into the eyes. Yeah. What do you think about, once they're in there, what did you think about her conversation with the Empress where, what did I say here? Oh, like the Empress believing that she had a right in sacrificing a part of the country to save the rest from destruction. Because she was basically telling Rin
that's
why she had the Federation come. She basically sold out the South. But she was like, I didn't have a choice. It was this or everybody, basically.
I mean, I'm not a ruler.
I know.
So I think it's hard. I think what is sad is like the South is always viewed as not worth saving when it's basically like their food. And so there's people who live there, and there's
lots of people.
A lot of their population lives in the South. So I do think it's really shitty of the Empress to be like, well, I'm going to save myself in my luxury city.
And my rich friends.
Yeah. Rin was talking about how the city that the Empress was like just living in right now was just full of luxury while the rest of the country was just starving.
Yeah.
People were flooded. There were so many refugees.
I know. And I agree with everything you said. And I feel like Rin is a little blind here in the fact that the Empress is basically trying to play God, so to speak, and making these decisions of who can live and who can die. Rin did the same thing.
She really did.
And she also chose to sacrifice a large group of people for the sake of her own. So different circumstances, but similar reasoning.
Yeah, well, later on in the book, Sorkin, what's her name? Sorkin Sira, the Chagon's like aunt.
Yeah.
She basically was telling Rin how much Rin was like the
trifecta,
having like the same kinds of beliefs and thinking and almost like arrogance.
Yeah. Of like, this is what I have to do and I know best
to save my people, which is like, yeah, it's a complicated conversation.
It is
but
complicated.
It's not good to kill people.
No. But for Rin to think the Empress is the most evil of evil, it's like, Rin, it's the pot calling the kettle black here. Yeah.
It's true.
Another cute Neja and Rin moment in chapter 11 when Neja defends Rin against his older brother. He's like, don't talk to her that way.
I freaking hated Jinza so much.
So cocky.
He did tell Rin, nice uniform, when she changed.
Neja did. Yep.
And I loved it. And Rin smacked him and she said, eyes up, General.
I know. I was like, so cute. I love it.
Oh.
We get like one line of banter every 500 pages.
Okay, there was a weird moment where Ramsa was weighed the missile in his hands, and Rin says that he was like so happy, and Rin was like, Ramsa weighed the missile in his hands looking so delighted that Rin suspected he might have gotten an erection.
All right.
I was like, why did we have to put that in
Could we have left that out?
Why that metaphor?
Oh my goodness.
I didn't need that.
Good with that. When in this chapter 2, it's made very clear that Rin is now like, Vaisra is who I need to please. And I just feel like it's very clear Rin has some daddy issues because she's always looking for somebody to grab onto as her guide. First, it was Master Ira, then it was Master Jiang, then Alton, and now Vaisra.
Even before that, you can say Tutor Favoric.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. She feels like she needs that validation from a superior.
Yeah. And they've all been males. And she, even though Auntie Fang was not a good mother figure, it sounds like her uncle was like almost completely absent because he was just so addicted to opium. So she's very clearly been like trying to fill that hole, that void. And, not really having any stability. She's like, I need somebody to give me that stability. And she says so many times, I just don't want to be in charge. Like, I want somebody else to make the decisions for me. I want somebody else to guide me. And she's never had guidance.
No. And I think she's really scared of making a big mistake again to have live with guilt.
Yes.
Because I don't think she sees the Federation, what she did with the Federation, as a mistake.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think at this point in the series, she still is struggling. She never wants to think about it. And now she's lost the fire power because of...
That's right. Because of the seal when they go to the Empress. Okay. Yeah, that was... Now she's like, I really need something. I don't even have the Phoenix.
I had a little prediction at this point. I thought that she was going to have to find Master Zhang and that Alton would try and help her from the spirit world.
Oh, if only.
But she had to burn him.
I know. Yeah, when she goes in to try to break the seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in the first book, it was clear that Alton and Rin's relationship was weird. Like, Rin really idolized him and he didn't treat her super well. But in this book, you're like, it feels like there was more to the story almost that we didn't get.
I could see that.
It felt like she
built him up almost so much in her mind. Like, I felt like she was not thinking about who Alton really was. It was like this made up version of him in her brain.
And it was almost like he was her abuser. At least that's how it felt. And like, you know, he did hit her and he was not the greatest to her. But it felt like she almost created this image of him that had so much control over her and created him to be this like evil idol almost. I don't know. Does that make sense? Did you get vibes of that at all?
Yeah, it was weird because she wouldn't even like have like flashbacks of like memories of them together.
Because when did they really hang out?
Never.
Like, yeah.
But she still was she was obsessed.
Obsessed with him.
She was obsessed and didn't know what to do without him.
Yeah, and it's like she created this chokehold that he had on her. Yeah, which is really sad.
Vinka also comes into the story.
Yes, I wish we got more of her.
I love her.
Me too.
I really like her. When Rin finds her, she sees that it's Vinka's father's disowning her. And he basically says that because she isn't a virgin, that she doesn't have dignity. And Vinka's response was, and who put my dignity in my cunt? And I was like, hell yeah,
I know,
Vinka.
I know. I was like really proud of her in that moment too, especially after everything she'd been through. And yeah, it just made me so mad. We never see her dad again. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
But I'm like, your daughter didn't even choose that. Like, you can't even say that she was literally put in a position where she had absolutely no control. How can you blame her for anything?
I don't know.
Or make any of this about like her decisions or her choices.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for words as how a father or anyone could ever blame anything on a person who was in Vinka's position.
Yeah. It like gives me the chills.
I hope she finds him and then
castrates him.
Yeah, Rin can burn his balls off like she did.
That soldier. Oh my goodness. Okay, in chapter 13.
Wait. I want to do more little Neja flirt.
Okay, I was about to jump to a Neja flirt in chapter 13. I think we got more than we thought we did.
We did too. I feel like we're picking out different ones.
I know. Okay, share yours.
So Rin is training with Neja, and she knocked him down the first time because he was like kind of scared to hurt her. So he like was going easy on her, and she got really mad. And he said, if you wanted to go for a tumble, you could have just asked.
And you know the undertones there.
Oh yeah.
Well, then in chapter 13, the Hesperians come into play at this point, and she is like captured by them, but under Vaesra's permission. But Neja goes to her and says, I die before I let anyone hurt you. Which ends up being a lie.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I'm like, he loves her. He loves her.
He does love her. He's just so misguided and so...
Also has daddy issues.
He does. Everyone has daddy issues. Everyone is seeking the like revenge of their father.
Except for Katai.
Yeah.
Good old Katai.
I mean, he did join the war effort once he found out his dad
That's true.
killed.
But then there's a moment, and I don't even remember where it is in the book, but Katai at one point, I think he's talking to like a warlord, and he uses his father's name, and he's like, I am the son of this man. And I was just like, he was, even though him and his dad had issues, like he's proud of his dad. Yeah. Proud to be his son.
I found Rin's description of white people hilarious. I read it out loud to my white husband.
Oh my gosh.
Who, I mean, I'm white too, but in a different way. I don't have like blonde hair.
No, it was very funny.
It was super funny, and I think it really shows. I had a friend who was Mormon, and she served her mission in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And she was telling me that when she lived over there for a year and a half, she felt like there were parts of her where she was like, oh, she felt ugly.
Oh my goodness.
Like she was like, I felt like my nose was huge just because like the bridge of her nose was a white person nose and not like what she was seeing around her. And she was like, I felt like that was really like, it was so interesting to see.
That is interesting.
Okay. This is her description. So first of all, she says she recoils at the sight of them.
She's like, they're disgusting.
Their skin was terribly pale, not the flawless porcelain white shade that Singardians prize, but more like the tint of a freshly gutted fish. And their hair looked all the wrong colors. Garish shades of copper, gold, and bronze. Nothing like the rich black of Nakara hair. Everything about them, their coloring, their features, their proportions seemed simply off. And I was like, yeah, that would be...
To have never
seen a person of a different race.
Yeah,
like
and that was like a very common thing.
Oh, yeah.
Up until recently with like social media and film and all these things that have allowed us... I'll look up my spell. Thank you. To see other types of people. And obviously we live in a very diverse place but not everybody does.
No.
Yeah. My husband used to live in Africa, and he would walk into villages and people would act like he was a god. Like they would just be like, a lot of them had never seen a white person before. And yeah, they would ask questions and he's like, I'm just
the same,
just like you guys.
Just white.
Yeah, some of the things that stood out, they were like, so you have flying cars in America, right? And he's like, no. And this was like 12 years ago now. Yeah, we're still not close to flying cars, I don't think. So they would ask questions like that. Like they just assume that people from America are just so...
That's an interesting parallel to the Hesperians, who are like Americans. There's a correlation between like the West, like
the Western world for sure. Yeah.
Something I wanted to, speaking of the Hesperians, it seems like the Hesperians had like a civil war of some kind.
Yeah.
Before she like alludes to it. And I'm almost like, ooh, I wonder if this author was talking more about like this would kind of be America if the South had won the Civil War.
Oh, I got more European vibes just because of the time that I feel like this is more like would take place before America was even a thing. That's like, the vibes. Like in terms of technology and stuff, it felt pre-1776. I don't know when the colonies were made.
Columbus sailed the ocean.
Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1442.
Yeah.
But that wasn't when the colonies. That's just when white people came to America. Yeah.
White people.
Yeah. So I don't know. But I got more of that vibe. Like people like Western, Columbus, that Western civil, like the people who wanted to colonize. We're not really colonizers at this point. Or, I mean, I guess we would have been.
If you like religious trauma things, you might like this book because her interactions with Sister Petra, sometimes I was like, I'm a little bit triggered right now.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine that.
When she was like telling Rin about the Hesperian beliefs, it's like the manipulation tactics that she was using. Like she was asking Rin these leading questions to make it seem like she always had the answer. Yeah. That her religion always had the answer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, you're not even letting Rin be able to ask a question. You're like telling her, well, this is what you should ask because this is what is the real answer. I wanted to strangle
There
her.
was a moment, it was a little bit later. It's not until chapter 16, and I didn't write down the page, but Petra describes the Nakara. And even though Rin's description of the Hesperians wasn't like, oh, they're so beautiful and amazing, it wasn't like cruel and it didn't feel super belittling. But the way Petra, she had it in her journal, is like the description of basically Asian people. And it was so degrading. And I'm like, this is literally how racism started.
It was so disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, she even tells Rin, she tells her, so their like version of evil they call chaos.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, chaos pops up more often in places like yours. And she says it's underdeveloped, uncivilized, and barbaric.
They literally will call them barbarians.
And I'm like, oh, good. So not only are you like, you're just racist too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're not only like classist and you like withholding your privilege and your like all your things.
I know.
You're just also racist.
And they're definitely not barbarians.
No.
Did you ever watch the show Dave the Barbarian? Dave the Barbarian. It was on Disney for like a hot minute. And I was a little too old for it, but my sisters weren't. But I'm like, she's not a caveman.
They treat her like she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really gross.
Mm-hmm.
When the river gets poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
And they go off to battle.
Yes.
So Nesha earlier in the book talks to Rin about how Alton always seemed to use and talk to people like objects, like he owned them.
Yeah.
And when Aratasha,
I
think I spelled it wrong right there. It's okay.
I don't remember. I don't think I wrote his name a single time.
Oh, right there.
Oh, Aratsha. Maybe it is Aratsha.
Well, the water god shaman. When he died, Rin said she just felt disappointed and irritated because they didn't have a shaman to control the river now. And I'm like, Rin, you're being exactly like Alton.
Yes. And it made me think of what I mentioned was it my quote of the book? I can't remember. In the last book where she's basically convincing herself that she's nothing like Alton. And I'm like, you are just like Alton. Mm-hmm. And I think we see that. This is a good... I'm glad that you pointed that out. It's a moment where she does that, but I feel like she does it more than once.
She does. And I'm like, he literally just died in your arms and you are irritated at him for dying, for being poisoned.
After he's basically done more than any of the other shamans have for you.
That is so true.
Yeah. How do you think they were getting all up and down the rivers? Him.
It's not freaking Bird Lady.
Nobody's paddling the oars at the bottom. The rows. Yeah, the bird guy. Shagan does nothing. The bird lady. Kara. Thank you. Yeah.
Ramza just blows things up. I like him, though. And I like Baji and Suni, too. But
yeah.
They just can't.
Yeah. Poisoning the water, though. Honestly, really great tactic.
Really great tactic. And we find out that it was their classmate.
Yes. Niang,
which I do remember her.
Mm-hmm. I thought about. I was like, what happened to her? You know,
she was being mentioned.
Yes.
What did you think about Katai shooting her like in the middle of her little villain speech?
I was like, yes, good, because we just give them too much time to talk. But I also felt like what she said to Rin about like you killed my family. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't realize they'd taken Nakara prisoners. Like, and I don't think Rin, she still is like, nope, I did what I had to do. But I'm like, yes, this is why this isn't just black and white, Rin. Like, her decisions kind of fueled some of the things that happened in this war.
It did. And again, I feel like that was Vaisra trying to tell her, like, your actions have consequences and you need to know that if you're going to kill someone powerful, you are going to have people after you. Yeah. Or, like, things will happen because of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that was pointed out to her. Not that...
she listened.
Yeah. And then not that everybody deserved to be poisoned by Niang after that. But, yeah. Other moment, Chagon and Korra come back and I'm like, where have you been?
I always forget about them.
Me too.
I forgot about their
existence.
And then they like pop up again. I'm like, oh yeah, they're supposed to be here too. They were on their own errand.
But even like Baji and Suni and Ramza, they're not in a lot of the book.
I wish we did get more bonding time with them.
Me too.
But
we didn't get to know them as much as I wish we would have.
Same.
With how much book we read, we did not get... There was time. There was time to get
You're
to
like,
them.
I didn't need the 20-page description of that boat.
No.
I needed a little moment with Baji and Suni and Ramza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
More crazy Sister Petra stuff. Sister Petra was saying that the Hesperians were more evolved than the Nakara.
Right.
And did you notice how she basically said that her religion is never wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Rin tried to point out, she was like, well, if you're trying to say that your like religion / government is always right and like your God is always the right one, why did you have a civil war? And she was like, oh, it was chaos we were fighting. It wasn't people. And I'm like, honey, you were so crazy. Like, you could never be wrong. It's never like, oh, maybe it's because my religion is oppressing people.
Very hoity-toity. Very
myopic,
legalistic, and a little hypocritical.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Speaking of hypocritical things, one of the missionary was talking about how it's really unfair that when the Republic first took over their first town, how they wouldn't feed them until the next day to kind of like make it seem like it's a goodwill that they kind of saved them in the last moment. But this is basically what the Hesperians are doing to the Nakara, right? They are waiting to the last second to be like come in and swoop in and be the saviors.
Exactly.
I'm
Save
like,
the day.
Are so annoying.
Till you prove yourself. It's like, so they can't get help until they win the war. So they're waiting for help to win the war, but they won't get that help until they win the war. That doesn't make any sense.
I hate them.
I know. It was really awful. And at this point, how did you feel about Vesra being like, Rin, just do it. Like, it's fine. Basically, the Hesperians wanted to experiment on Rin, but not in the same way that Dr. Shiro did. It was more of just like, at this point, wanting to question her and take some notes and blood samples and urine samples. And this was a part of Vesra's plan. How did you feel about him at this point? Did you just start to suspect that maybe he wasn't this little savior to the Republic?
He was in a difficult position, and I see that. Like, he was up against the Empire, who the Empress is very, very powerful. Clearly, she has been in power for a really long time. So I can see where he was coming from in the means of, like, I will sacrifice this one girl for, like, the greater good of my people. Yeah. But also, Rin should not be enslaved to these people.
I know. This is really when I was like, okay, you're not...
He's playing her.
Yeah. Because this was always a part of his plan. It's not like the Hesperians showed up and were like, okay, fine, we'll help you if this.
Well...
Then maybe... But it was like, let's find Rin. Let's convince her to be a part of our army. And then when the Hesperians come, we'll just be like, come on, we have to do this.
Yeah, like when the Hesperians first got there, Neja's mom was like, kill her, get her.
And Neja's standing right there. Yeah, I know. I was pretty upset.
Was so annoying.
I was upset. Yeah.
So they took down the Ram Warlord.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering, do you also kind of picture the warlords to kind of look like
they're animals? Absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, the monkey warlord was described as like very wise with his beard, with like growing beard, and I was like, that sounds like a monkey.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I pictured this guy like kind of
stocky,
a little stout.
Yeah, me too.
But like strong.
Yeah, the rat warlord I pictured like skinny and like small.
Yeah, that's so funny. When they took over the Ram province and Rin kind of exploded about like wanting to kill them all because we found out that they had partnered with the Federation. I didn't cry, but I just like felt very emotional for her. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are still like so like, this is one of those moments where I'm like, Rin, you are just as bad as like the people that you claim to be angry at. Like, you're just gonna kill all these people, even who might be innocent, because your enemy was there.
Yeah. Do you blame the Ram Warlord for siding with the Federation instead of like fighting back and losing?
No, I actually don't. I feel like almost everybody who's considered like a bad guy in this story, I don't feel like they're actually evil. Maybe the Hesperians and maybe Vesra actually. But like even the Empress, I don't think she's truly evil. I think she believes she was doing what was best. I think Vesra just wants power. But like all the warlords and whatever decisions they made, whether they chose to join the Republic or they chose to stay with the Empress, I think in their mind they were truly like, I have to do what's best to save my people. Yeah. It wasn't like I need to do what's best for me. So I don't know. I didn't really.
I didn't agree with Rin. I mean, he did have like 1 million wives, which was disgusting.
Yeah, that was weird.
He was not like a good
I'm
person.
so glad the baby didn't die.
Did it not die?
I don't think so.
Okay. I totally forgot about it.
Well, at least they didn't talk about it.
I don't think the baby died either.
I think I would have been done.
Just stop.
Not here for it. Oh my goodness. Okay. I was starting to think at this point, because, you know, they start winning all of these battles and everything. I was starting to think this is too easy. And then Katai said it too. And I was like, Katai is so smart. We have a bird's eye view, so it's a lot easier for us to be like, this is too easy. But in the moment, nobody else was questioning it. And Katai was like, nope, something's coming.
It was too easy. Especially for how powerful the Empire was supposed to be. Yeah. Foreshadowing.
I know, for what's to come, which happens. So they get to like the main battle and it doesn't go very well.
No. Well, the
wind god
Phelan just tears everything apart.
And we find out Nezha is some sort of shaman without drugs.
But
it's connected to a tattoo on his back. It's very interesting.
Yeah, connected to the water dragon, which
apparently is what killed his brother.
Yeah.
And then claimed him.
Because he's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Which I have a little prediction.
Okay, tell me.
I was going to say it in the next.
Oh, save it.
Book. Okay, I have a prediction with that.
Okay.
With what's going to happen.
I'm excited.
With the dragon. Rin's interaction with the missionary. August.
I called him Angus the whole time.
Oh,
I changed the U to an N.
Yep. I could see that.
Until almost the end of his journey in this book. I was like, oh my gosh, it's August.
It's not August. It's August.
Yeah.
Had me rolling my eyes. He was like nice. That's in air quotes if you can't see. He's like nice. But then he tells Rin, we are not equals, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. And I don't think the oath to salvation involves treating you like you're not people. And I'm like, you're not a good person just because you think that.
Yeah, I guess. I actually felt really bad for him most of the time. Of like, you are...
brainwashed.
Yes, in a different way than Rin, but similarly in that you've been trained to believe certain things as a teenager. Yeah. Like even just her, you know, being trained to be a soldier and like kind of also view people as not worthy of life and humanity. And so I was just like, oh, you're figuring it out.
Yeah, because he was saying that he doesn't agree with like kind of like the old
way of thinking. Yeah. But
I'm like, okay, you're like a little bit better.
Yeah.
At least.
I just felt bad for him. I was just like, you're just
a pawn.
Yeah.
Everyone's
kind of like it. Yeah, everybody. Okay. The end.
I love
this section.
I love that Nezha is like water and
Rin is fire.
It's so cute.
I know.
Such a balance. Such a little balance. I hated when Nezha called her spearly trash.
Yeah, they got in this huge fight, and that made me mad. But it was not enough to make me dislike Nezha. Because I was like, this is one of the moments where I thought he's being cruel, but it's like in this emotional state where she had like no empathy towards him.
Her interactions with him and what happened to him and how he can call the water and the dragon lacked a lot of empathy and understanding. He
basically shares, well, no, he doesn't share it yet. It's in the next section. Yeah. But like, she just was like,
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what you think or feel, which I can see that side of things where she's like, this is war, get over it. Yeah. But I'm like, come on, that's not the way to get through to people, Rin. You should know that. Like, you should know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I thought Katai was going to die.
Oh.
I'm glad he didn't.
Me too.
Yeah.
I would rather have Rin die than Katai.
I just looked at our crying corners. Wait, did you copy mine?
Oh, yeah. Well, for the template.
I was like, you just wrote what I said word for word. No. I guess I accidentally left it there. I got a little teary-eyed at the end of page 93 of the paperback copy when Katai, I just realized how much he'd been changed by the war, and he recovered a lot, and I think is like back to his A game and his usual self, but it just made me sad.
He was really hurt. He was burning himself in order to try and feel the people on the island, the Federation Islands, pain. And Ren was like, no, they suffocated. I'm like, oh.
Like, Ren. Oh, Ren.
Stop doing that.
Okay. I have a little game.
Okay. I haven't looked at that.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts before we jump in?
No.
Okay. So that's the end of our little deep dive recap of chapters 1 through 20. So now I have Would You Rather Rin edition.
Okay.
So things that she's had to endure or decide. Would you rather eat moldy porridge or not eat for days?
Moldy porridge.
Me too, but
I can't.
Description was pretty gross.
I probably would take a long time like picking the pieces out.
Yeah, I think that's what she had to do.
Yeah.
Would you rather be an experiment for Shiro or the Hesperians?
Ooh.
Hard one, huh?
That is a hard one. I honestly hate how the Hesperians had like an air of self-righteousness about them, even though they were just as bad because they were experimenting on humans. But Shiro seems awful. So I'm going to say the Hesperians.
I would also choose the Hesperians. And I think Shiro was extra scary because he understood shamanism so much and knew how to like restrain them really effectively. Whereas I feel like the Hesperians, she has a better chance of survival and escape.
I agree. Yeah. And I think they were trying to be like, well, you have the guise of choice, even though she really didn't.
No, she does not at all.
No.
Would you rather be in charge of the Sika or be a foot soldier?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like being in charge would be a lot of pressure. But I feel like if I was a foot soldier, I would die.
I think the same thing about myself.
I would be in charge, and I probably would ask for help. It would be a democracy.
Yeah, exactly. We're all going to take a vote on my choices. Okay, my last one. Would you rather report to Jinza or Jun? Jun.
I would think I would rather report to Jinza, just because at least I have Neja on my side and
Katai.
And Katai. Jun is just not. I don't like him.
He feels very evil to me.
Me too. He just feels like a racist little
jerk.
guy.
He's just a jerk. He's a bully. Full bully. Whereas Jinza...
And snaky.
Yeah.
Jinza was, again, had daddy issues.
A little...
rash.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Rash, and made some harsh decisions when people made mistakes. But wasn't like... I don't know. They're just different. A different kind of bad.
Yeah, and I think with Jun, it was like vindictive. Like just because Rin was from the south and came from the slums, he's like, well, I don't think you should even be here.
I also think he hates shamans.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. Next week we're going to be finishing chapter 21 to the end of the book. If you like to read along,
yes.
Follow us on our social media accounts at It's Fate Podcast.
Rate, review, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.